Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are going to discuss the 7th mantra of Sri Ishopanishad today. So as a part of the 7th mantra, as always we churn. So we are going to have 7 points which we are going to list. And these 7 points are from this current purport. Then we'll try to kind of go a little deeper to see what lessons we can learn. And as always, if time permits, then we'll also learn mantra 8 so that we will finish one section. So anybody has any reflections on mantra 7 or any questions up till this point in time, till mantra 6, when you had read, any new reflections, any new thoughts, anything that that you didn't share or we didn't discuss or we discussed that was not clear? So before we move on to the mantra 7.
Regarding mantra 7, basically Sri Ishopanishad focuses more on Madhyam and Uttamadhikari. And so over here, the characteristics of the spirit soul, and it is explained that how the spirit soul is different from the Supreme Lord, both qualitatively and quantitatively. We are minute and part and parcel of Krishna, but Krishna is the Supreme. So certain examples are used of fire and fire spark, salt water and ocean water, and fire, the heat and light of fire and all. It is explained that Krishna is all energetic and we are existing only to give pleasure to the all energetic. And to realize this, that we are part and parcel and Krishna is the Supreme, we need authority or a guru to see this vision and to understand that we are minute sparks who are meant to give pleasure to the Supreme Personality of Body, and that is beyond material relevance.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? I'm seeing there's a question from somebody. So before we take up the question, are there any thoughts? So let's take the question. On the Nirguna platform, spiritual platform, there is never clash over the object of enjoyment. But we came down to this material world because we had clash for the object of enjoyment. So, is that something that we are trying to take it as a question as a part of this verse number 7 reflection, or otherwise we will still respond, because Prabhupada writes in the paragraph 3 where he's saying on the materialistic platform and spiritual platform, Nirguna platform, he's explaining the point of clash. So when we get there, I will respond that. It's very interesting question and important question. Any other thoughts? Any pending reflections? Okay, let's read the verse and translation, then we can go further. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaivabhut vijnatah tatra ko mohah ka shoka ekatvam anupashyatah. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? So, this particular shloka is trying to elevate us to explain the theme of this section. What was the theme of this section? This section had got 5 learnings, and one of the learning of this section is about how, when somebody understands the Lord and the living entities and everything that he has created in a right perspective, he will be free from anxiety and get situated in the transcendental platform. And also, to get to the transcendental platform, we should start performing devotional service. That way, one can realize the Supreme Lord directly. So, we are discussing this 7th verse, and as well as the 8th verse is, gives a concluding part of the section where it says that such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without means, pure and uncontaminated, a self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. So tattvataha, knowing them as truth. So verse number 7 talks about who can understand. Verse number 8 talks about how they understand. So that way we will be able to conclude this section very scientifically, saying that by this process of Krishna consciousness, we will be able to get properly situated and try to resonate in that consciousness. We remain fully happy. So we spoke about the Siddhanta of seeing, 6 different stages. We spoke about the Siddhanta of knowing, multiple things. So today let us try to talk about the evolution of consciousness, where how Prabhupada very nicely talks about how the beginning part is something. If somebody can learn to understand, we are spiritual sparks. Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nitya Dasa. So this Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das, this ideology is currently covered with a cloud, with a kind of covering. That covering is called Maya, where we have wrongly understood, wrongly concluded that is the truth. So when that covering is removed, so we will be able to see the things in the right perspective, which is what is the perspective is explained in the next verse. So I will list these 7 points from each of these paragraphs, some salient points. Then we'll drill down to the next level of understanding. So the first point of this verse is what I just said. We all are spiritual sparks, qualitatively one with the Lord, and that when we understand this, we will be out of illusion and anxiety. And second, Prabhupada explains in the purport how Kanishta cannot understand, only a Madhyama or Uttama can understand this particular aspect of how we are qualitatively one with the Lord, and in quantity there is no comparison only. And the second paragraph, in the first paragraph, Prabhupada very nicely talks about how somebody that understands this qualitative nature, uh, then they will be able to elevate their consciousness to the stage of Mahabhagavata. So that way we will have spiritual oneness in variegatedness. And in the second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada explains that how the living entity can possess 80% of the qualities of the Supreme Lord. So technically, if you know, in Nectar of Devotion, 64 qualities have been listed. Out of the 64, 4 are unique to Krishna only. 60 qualities are there for Vishnu Tattvas. Then there are some qualities relatively less than Vishnu Tattva there with Lord Shiva. Then less than that is Brahma, and less than that is Jivas. So Jivas also has got different gradations. So demigods are perfect Jivas in comparison to the Jivas in this material world. And the Jivas in the earthly planets are perfect, better than Jivas in the hellish planets. So like that, even the, in different Jivas there are different gradations. Jalaja Navalakshani Tavara Laksha Vimsati. So in the 84 lakh species, depends upon our consciousness level, we are, situated in different gradations. So what Srila Prabhupada explains, that in terms of an ability, if somebody try to understand this Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishna and Nitya Das concept, so then he will be able to elevate his consciousness. He will be able to raise up to that level to even match up to 80%. So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is explained how this 80% is achievable by a sadhaka, by a living entity. In the paragraph 3, we are getting to know from Srila Prabhupada, where we are always the enjoyed and Krishna is the enjoyer. And just once, when we start to think that we want to be the enjoyer, we kind of fall down from that position, and we kind of get affected by shoka and moha, lamentation and illusion. And that state is a very precarious state. And once we fall down, we have a challenge of continue to suffer in this material world, which is unusual to the spirit soul. While the spirit soul is anandobhya, anandamayaha, so it is supposed to enjoy, but unfortunately, falling into this materialistic trap, it suffers for a long period in time. So, and with respect to the next paragraph, where Prabhupada talks about the godless civilization versus God-centered civilization, how godless civilization has taken things away from us. And the next paragraph, Srila Prabhupada talks about the result of a godless civilization, what happens when we have fallen trapped to that, and how do we revive them. And finally, in the last paragraph, to clarify all the students of Ishopanishad that Krishna is just not impersonal. Krishna is a person, and he has got his emotions, and he has got his likings, dislikings, and he is definitely having his own rasa, and he is Rasaraj. So these are all the 7 points that we are discussing in this particular shloka. So let us take one at a time and go a little deeper. The first thing is Jivera Swarupahoy Krishnera Nitya Das. So why we are not able to understand that realization is because we have wrongly concluded because of our accepting relative source as absolute source as a relative source. We can always analyze, as Srila Prabhupada, response to some people who have asked, that analysis is doable but not productive. How did we fall down? But rather than analysis will be very important, how do we rise up and go back? So, in a very prominent Vaishnava association, this conversation of our fall down has been discussed only from the perspective of how to rise up, rather than questioning how we could have fallen down from the spiritual sky. And if at all some understanding can be given, this understanding is about how a spark, a small spark, when its spark stays with the fire Juvala, the spark has its own existence and has its own sustenance. But when the spark is, separated out of the Juala, of the blazing fire, then the spark may cease to exist, or may find it very difficult to exist because of the wind blowing. So, I mean, it's natural's glory. This is not to say that the spirit soul will cease to exist, but it is to say that the spirit soul will cease to understand that he is spiritual spark by getting separated from the supreme absolute fire, the Jwala. So my first reflection into this current context is about to realize that we are actually a spark, and the spark has its glory, has its existence in the major main fire only when it stays with the fire. As we discussed about the similar hair is beautiful, apparently relevant only when it is attached to the body. When it is removed from the body, the hair is a filth. We spoke about the screw that is holding on to different parts in the machine, may definitely play some role in holding the parts together, but if the screw gets removed from the machine, then the screws does not have any significant presence. So the first and foremost thing is for us to realize, for us to appreciate, for us to understand that we are spirit souls and spiritual spark, that we need to somehow or other realize our insignificant position. At the same time, this insignificance will also have significance when it stays with the significance. So when the spirit soul going to stay with the supreme spiritual spark, which is different people have explained as different terminologies: Paramatma, Parabrahman, Brahman, Bhagavan. So when it stays with them in some capacity, so then there is a hope for us to not get trapped. So today there is a covering because of we got separated from the Supreme Lord. We staying away from the Supreme Lord. We are toiling to maintain the status quo as a spirit soul, this body as a covering, this material layering as a covering, which is currently blocking. It is not that the spirit spark has become polluted. The block, the cloud, the covering that is coming in front is actually blocking the real intelligence. It is like how a cloud covers the sun. So it's neither the sun that is getting demeaned position, nor the inherent nature of ability to see is getting hampered, but the hindrance that is created, the cloud that is coming in our case, the cloud is the choice that we make, the desire that we make. So my first reflection is to help us reinstate to this state of I am being a spirit soul. We want to say, make your choices correct. So choice or desire is the beginning point of reviving our state of trying to be a spirit soul. So if I want to draw a parallel to each of this verse today, for the first reflection that is derived out of this shloka, which is the translation itself, where Prabhupada writes, one has to see all living beings as spiritual and one in quality with the Supreme, then one will never be in illusion or anxiety. So the reflection, the drill down reflection of this particular point is that this is possible and this is realistically achievable when we try to work on our desire plane. The desire plane, for us to desire, we don't need any prior qualification. Just desire is doable only the moment we get to know the information. When we hear about the Siddhanta, when we hear about these words, even though we may not have profound, deeper realization, experiences, or may have forgotten that experiences, just the desire, that is why Sambandha Jnana is a preliminary need for Abhideya. So the moment the knowledge of relationship is given, and if the knowledge is consistently given, and if the knowledge is given in a very favorable environment, then naturally a desire in the heart gets manifested. So the desire is something that every one of us can have, and there is no prerequisites for this desire. I mean, anybody, even the poorest guy in the street, can desire for traveling in a Mercedes Benz. So desire is something that is beyond our freedom and restriction. But how the desire need to be facilitated, how do we acquire, how the desire ka parinam kya hai, how the desire gets evolved, that has to be watched out. But the beginning point is the choice or the desire that we have. That is why, if at all we want to switch our journey from the materialistic plane, from the materialistic direction, from the materialistic disha towards spirituality, we just constantly desire and make choices, set priorities, choose association around that desire, because we desire. We tend to do things which we like, which we desire to do. Hence, the desire happens to be the primary factor by which we can start to remove this covering. Otherwise, this covering will get thicker and thicker every day, and we will cease to forget or cease to remember about our spiritual identity. As I always say, that this desire plane is something that is what has shifted us from the spiritual abode to the material abode. In the spiritual abode, we were serving Krishna, doing wonderful things, but the desire to enjoy independent of Krishna, trapped us into this particular state. So hence, the first reflection is to work on our desires. And the second reflection is regarding what Srila Prabhupada is talking about. Madhyama and Uttama can only really get into this stage of understanding Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas and how we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So this, taking the thread forward, what does it makes a person Madhyama from a Kanishta? Yesterday we spoke about who is the Kanishtadhikari, who is the Madhyamadhikari, who is the Uttamadhikari. We had additional notes from some engineers who shared, their additional reflections also in terms of Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama. So, if somebody is a Kanishta, he is better off than an atheist, for sure. But just patting on your back, saying that I'm a Kanishta and I'm already knowing Krishna, I'm already going to temple, does not help us for a long time, unless and otherwise we try to fire the fire further. So firing the fire further happens is, I was a Kanishta, I developed desire to go, I got to know about Krishna, went to the temple, took darshan of the Lord, and now to move from Kanishta to Madhyama, one important addition that needs to get added. Otherwise, we will not move from Kanishta to Madhyama. Is about kindness of another Madhyama or Uttama on a Kanishta. So the desire, which is also a spark, which is also a kind of a, what do you call us, your reality check. But the reality check can be facilitated further. It is like this. A student is an able person. The ability of a student to become a scientist or a politician or a philanthropist or a philosopher or whatever accomplishing that he needs to do, they are born with their inherent karma and inherent ability. So his ability alone cannot suffice for him to accomplish what he has to accomplish. He needs some facilitation, he needs some support, he needs some encouragement, he needs some environment, like Hanuman. Hanuman had the ability, but Hanuman also had a very interesting um, situation where Hanuman need to be reminded of. Okay, there is a Leela aspect to this. But if you talk about the Siddhanta aspect of Hanuman, that every time when Hanuman has to accomplish a great task, a great achieving things, Hanuman has to be reminded, Hanuman has to be told that, hey, Hanuman, you can do it. When Hanuman did a jump from Rameshwaram to Lanka, so actually speaking, nobody could comprehend to do such a long jump. And even Hanuman was quiet. But somehow Jambavan, who knew Hanuman's ability as well as his, the reason his memory has to be reminded. So he told Hanuman, actually you are a capable person, blessed person in the entire Sena. You are the only one who can do this. And he kept on, mentioning certain aspects, after which Hanuman immediately, took it upon himself and did the service in the superlatively excellent manner. So similarly, the spirit soul being in a Kanishta, and before even Kanishta, he was, in a rotting in other animalistic form of life. So somewhere because of Agyata Sukriti or because of the natural evolution of consciousness and the karmic cycle, or also because of some Vaishnava's blessings, only somebody comes into devotion or even becoming Kanishta. But then at the Kanishta stage, the importance were never given to a living person. Importance were always given that I and God, I and God. Even though he would have been connected to God because of his parents, because of his friends, because of his guru, because of various other people, somewhere or other at Kanishta stage, we tend to forget or give less importance or no importance to human persons. But then, when we have to develop this desire, this spark, this understanding to the next higher level, then we need a living person. We need a guru. So, Shraddha, the immediate next thing of Shraddha is what? Sadhu Sangha. So, the second reflection is where how this Kanishta becomes Madhyama and Uttama. The Kanishta becomes Madhyama and Uttama only when they receive the mercy. The mercy is generally delivered through devotees, because a devotee, because of their love and emotions and sentiments that they have. So the mercy is coming in the form of Siddhanta. The mercy is coming in the form of engaging you in some service. So giving an opportunity to engage you in service. Mercy comes in the form of personal association and showing by example. Some devotees demonstrate them, and mercy also comes in the form of giving access to those confidential things which otherwise you would have not even comprehended about. So for us, the level 1 to level 2 where level 1 relationship of Kanishta to Madhyama, or level 1 desire and choice to next level of action, because just desire down cannot help. Desire has to be transformed into some sort of an action, happens when we have this wonderful association. I'll tell you a very interesting pastime from Vrindavan for this association, and how the knowledge gets enhanced. So Krishna used to steal butter from everybody's house. So as we all know, Krishna is very dear to people in Vrindavan, whether they scold him, whether they are upset with him, whether they are very happy with him, whether they are extremely attached to him. So whether they are whatever, they were not able to forget about Krishna. So the Krishna's agenda is the predominant agenda in Vrindavan, or the only agenda in Vrindavan. People don't even talk about their own children. Even if they talk about their own children, they talk in connection with Krishna. Sometimes in the house we get to see this scenario where children go and tell a complaint to the parents saying that mummy to hamesha उन्हीं के बारे में बात करते हो, इनके बारे में बात करते हो, you don't talk about me, but sometimes mother janbujh ke, sometimes they try to talk about the children with other children because of various learnings that might come along with that. So in Vrindavan everybody used to talk about Krishna. So one day all the gopis came to Mother Yashoda. So these all gopis, they came and complained to Mother Yashoda about how Krishna used to steal from their house. So how Krishna used to hide behind and steal, how Krishna used to engage their own children to steal from their house by Krishna house spoiling their own children, how Krishna forms a human pyramid and climb on them and steal. And they come and give a description in a manner that as if they are upset with Krishna and angry with Krishna. But acharyas are explaining that their anger is not an anger. Their anger is their extreme kindness and glorification and love for Krishna. They just express in terms of that way. So Mother Yashoda, who hears this narration, technically speaking, Krishna never steal in Yashoda's house. Of course, he did steal also, but predominantly he never did that. He always stole in other person's house. So Acharyas Viswanatha Chakravarti Thakura is explaining that when these gopis, when they are narrating about Krishna's stealing, he's actually glorifying Vraje Prasidam Navanita Choram Gopangananamscha Dukula Choram. So he keeps singing about the song, how Krishna is a thief and celebrate his thievery. So when they come and narrate, the gopis definitely enjoy, but Mother Yashoda is the one who is to enjoy the most. Can you imagine? Mother Yashoda, who is hearing about her own son's thievery, complains from all these gopis, but Acharyas explained, in the heart of heart, Mother Yashoda used to have enormous amount of happiness and pleasure. So both the parties, both gopis शिकायत करते हुए आनंद ले रहे हैं. ये Mother Yashoda शिकायत दिखाते हुए, अफसोस दिखाते हुए आनंद लेते हैं. So but both the parties internally they are enjoying. And the reason gopis are enjoying was they witnessed this actually happening. They caught Krishna red-handed. They are catching their sons doing this mischievous red-handed. So because they witnessed this wonderful act of thievery of Krishna, so their heart got melted about Krishna's wonderful Leela. So they were very happy. So they came and shared the real experience. But now, why is Mother Yashoda is happy? Because she didn't witness Krishna stealing. So why she's happy? So acharyas are explaining Because what was witnessed by this gopi were narrated to Mother Yashoda, not only the incidences, along with their love and emotions imbued, they shared it. That is why Mother Yashoda derived utmost pleasure more than gopis received the pleasure. So the point is, when Acharya's tipni, when Acharya's commentaries, when Acharya's explanation, when we hear them, it is not just information, it is information imbued with emotions and devotions and sentiments which actually melts the stone like a heart. So the second reflection that I want to say is how a Kanishtadhikari, when he comes in contact with the Madhyamadhikari, he immediately gets an opportunity to raise up to a Madhyamadhikari with the help of a Madhyamadhikari or an Uttamadhikari. The reason is, when the knowledge is repeated, when the knowledge is relayed, when the knowledge is shared, it is not knowledge, it is become vijnana. It is just not jnana, it is vijnana, it is realized knowledge. So the more you are pad up in terms of realization, the more the nectar. So those who are in the lowest in the rung, they are going to get the most sweetness. That is why Gopi Bharta Pada Kamalayor Dasa 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 Anudas. Srila Prabhupada says, the more you add das, the more is the fun. So technically, in spiritual dimension, hence, the more you become subservient, the tastier the relationship is going to be. So unlike in the materialistic world, it is boss anu boss anu boss. We want to become bossing over one another. Here it is das anu das anu das. But be very careful when you are working in the corporate, how to manage your language. One time I wrote a letter to one of my customer right after finishing an email to one of the devotees. So as a habit, we write your servant at the end. So to my customer, I wrote your servant and gave my signature. So he called me and said that it's interesting you're saying my servant. So it's a very expensive servant. So they cannot understand, they cannot comprehend that usage. But when we also write to a devotee, it is just not a gross writing of your servant. We have to really realize it. The reason is we will get elevated from Kanishta to Madhyama. So that is why Prabhupada says, for us to realize, come to this platform, hame Madhyama chahiye. And to become a Madhyama, we need another Madhyama. So please don't say no when a devotee is coming in your life. It might be to help you. He may be coming with a promotion letter to you. So it is not his burden in your system. He's coming in with a promotion letter, appraisal letter. I always say this. It is said this. When a manager calls you inside a cabin, especially during the COVID time, so everybody's in the stomach, there is a butterfly that is flying. मुझे पिंक स्लिप मिलने वाला है या कुछ और मिलने वाला है. I was talking to Nadia Kumar Prabhu the other day. So during the COVID time, when the manager calls you, hey, I want to have a one-on-one meeting with you in the evening, शाम को घर जाने से पहले मिलके जाना. So you have two possibilities. One possibility is pink slip. Sorry, you are no more in the organization from tomorrow. Another possibility is a white slip saying that you are promoted. Actually, what has happened is when they are retrenching people, whoever is left over in the organization, they are given additional responsibility. So in Krishna consciousness is never a pink slip. It is always white slip or multiple white slips. Gauranga Darshan Prabhu was mentioning that in Govardhan Eco Village, if you don't attend Mangalarati, he was using a very interesting, I know he was making a flowing statement, but very nicely he made a statement. In Govardhan Eco Village, if somebody does not attend Mangalarati, they are rewarded with an opportunity to chant 54, write 54 times Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So he used the word reward not as a punishment. So it is actually extra, but it's actually a reward. So now the paradox here is, should we miss Mangalarti to accept that reward, or should we not miss the Mangalarti? So the message here is that in any way, in Krishna consciousness, Kevala Ananda Kanda. So anytime when a devotee walks inside your house or inside your life, whether he gives 2 slips, 4 slips, 5 slips, it is all good slip for you. It is a promotion to you. That is why in spirituality is trial and success. It is not trial and error. Oh, if I do devotion, what if I miss something? Arjuna had that question. Arjuna asked that question to Krishna. My dear Lord, you are making us do so many sacrifices. I am going to compromise on so many of my enjoyment, my movie time, my friendship time, my gala time, my play time, my fun time, and giving to this boring Ishopanishad seminar. So what if I am not able to understand anything out of this seminar? So Krishna is assuring that don't worry, in spite of Ramagiridhari, you will still get the blessings because the message is mine. It's not his. So that is why even the content may not be delivered in an appropriate, scrutinizingly coherent manner, but the sound vibration, because it is coming from the spiritual authority, will still have a very positive impact. So hence my second reflection is that we need somehow or other to keep looking forward for this fire to go and get charged up and keep yourself surcharged and keep afloat. Otherwise, your spirituality, your spiritual fire will get put off. I mean, it's very rude statement to say and never want to experiment this. But hypothetically, if you experiment yourself, hypothetically, don't experiment really, you think of yourself without devotees association for 1 week, 10 days, 15 days, 1 month, and look at your own spiritual standard where it will go, you will realize what I'm talking about in terms of transformation from Madhyama to Uttama level. So in terms of Krishna consciousness progression, we need devotees association, without which the spiritual fire will not be able to participate into this jwala and glow there. So this is a second reflection. Am I making some sense here? Any thoughts, any comments up till this point in time?
Krishna Prabhuji, you said that spirituality is always trial and success and not trial and error. But what if in the process we commit some anartha, which is irreversible sort of? So how is it a success?
Very nice. Very, very, interesting point. So we are, the third reflection that Srila Prabhupada is bringing about is about the qualities of the jiva and how, if they function correctly, they can get 80%. So basically, how spirit souls anandamaya abhyasat, how by our constitutional nature we are supposed to enjoy and participate in spiritual conversation and spiritual agenda, but then we kind of tend to not do that. So where does this all where does this fall down or deviation or slippage happen in the context of trial and success? 3 points. Number one, so I will say this as a part of my third reflection here, where the living entities can possess up to 80% of the qualities of the Lord, which means up to 50 qualities of the Lord somebody can possess. So what are the qualities that they can possess? We'll separately, you all study the nectar of devotion to know that. But the point I want to drive home here is that Neha Vikrama Nasosti Pratyavayo na Vidyate Swalpamapi Yasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bayat. In that verse, very clearly explained that a little endeavor in this path is never wasted, is never going to be lost. What does it actually mean? It actually means that whatever you are trying and moving forward in your devotional life, they will always be preserved, even though apparently you may commit a mistake, you may commit an offense and try to slip from your position. You are not going to lose your credit point. What is going to be lost is the time. What is not going to be lost is your accomplishment. So the time lost is definitely a loss, and that is the only on the reverse side of the scenario. Otherwise, we will not be able to lose whatever we have gained so far. So Krishna is saying that that's number one benefit. Number two is that every mistake is generally forgiven. And in the entire spirituality's progress is based on two Vaishnava qualities. One Vaishnava quality is forgiveness, another Vaishnava quality is gratitude. Prabhuji, then what about Trinadapi Sunichena? What about various other things? They are also important. But I was telling in terms of a Vaishnava relationship, because we spoke about Sambandha with the Madhyama, Sambandha with the Uttama, and trying to progress. So for our personal progress, personal endeavor is humility, tolerance, man, samman, hai. But when it comes to two Vaishnavas, I have to learn from another person. What is my brownie point? The brownie point is that the other person is ready to you, is not ready to hold a grudge against you. Assume that if Krishna or Vaishnavas is going to hold a grudge against you, probably I will be, being boiled in some hot oil kadai in some hellish planets, and I'll become a bhajia for somebody now. Today is Ramagiridhari bhajia. Mere upar besan laga ke, people will be putting inside the, frying pan. So that is the kind of offenses that I have done. But somebody is constantly forgiving us and looking at only what we are good at. And Krishna is doing that. That is why Krishna has got a spectacles. Krishna bhi chashmish hai. What does Krishna's glass allows him to see? Krishna's glass will allow him to see those things which you have done, even for the slightest sense of devotion. Krishna will fan them and give a reward. And Krishna's glass will also make your biggest mistake look like something that you can easily vanished or finished off. And that way, these two are a very good advantage for us. So that is available. Of course, we are not supposed to take a undue advantage of this particular point by being reckless. But the message here is that an inadvertent failure, inadvertent slippage, inadvertent mistakes is still a success, because that in that failure, in that success, you get to learn. I'll tell a very interesting point from Srimad Bhagavatam. In the first canto, first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a very nice point mentioned about Dharma Prochita Kaitavarta. So how we should not do Kaitava Dharma, we should only follow the real religion. And it is explained how Srimad Bhagavatam is such a literature which can actually remove tapatraya, which can completely purify, which can completely remove the threefold miseries. In that first canto, first chapter, second shloka, Dharma prochita kaidavatro paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam. So the question can be asked, how is it that a book, a literature can cure us from the threefold miseries, adhyatmic, adibaudik, atidaivik miseries? Just a literature, how it can cure? Are we saying that just by reading Srimad Bhagavatam I will not die? By reading Srimad Bhagavatam, I will not have envious person around me. By reading Srimad Bhagavatam, I will not fall sick. By reading Srimad Bhagavatam, COVID will not affect me. By reading Srimad Bhagavatam, I will not become poor. No, we are not claiming that if anybody is, being part of ISKCON thinking that all these things will happen, it's a wrong, notion. One gopi is telling another gopi, be careful with this Shama Sundar. The more you go close to him, the more he will finish off your propensity to enjoy this materialistic world. So how is it possible, this tapatrayon moolanam? So we get the understanding and discrimination. Thank you. Yes. We are able to discriminate. We are able to differentiate and able to see Krishna in every challenge. So when the tapatraya, when all threefold miseries will come upon us, Srimad Bhagavatam enables to fine-tune our consciousness in such a way that we will be able to appreciate those challenges are also as Krishna's blessings. So the third reflection here is that as living entities, that by we subscribing to the devotional lifestyle in the association of devotees can raise our consciousness up to eventually become a dutiful and obedient son of the Father and eventually enjoy all the opulence of the Father. And as we discussed in one of the earlier verses, all the opulence means opulence of being properly situated, not becoming Krishna, not equating ourselves with Supreme Lord. You will become properly situated as the servant of 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 the servant, and eventually go back home, back to Godhead. So the third reflection hence is that we need to understand the association with book Bhagavata and devotee Bhagavata will be able to help us save ourselves from such a fall down. So the third point with respect to what you asked a question in terms of how do we safeguard, the third aspect is that apart from whatever we discussed as first and second Krishna consciousness process, where Krishna says that those who are engaging themselves in my services of glorifying me and talking about me, they become very, very dear to me. And one Alvar in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, he said that I have been telling a lie. பொய்யேன் என்று சொல்லி மெய்யேன் ஆகி வந்தேனே. I have been telling a lie. I have been showing off myself. I have been, just claiming myself. I'm a devotee. I was not a devotee. But just by this little ishara endeavor, just a koshish or somewhere or the other, we will be able to elevate our consciousness to become a devotee. So hence, there is no loss. It's only trial and success only. You never fail. And apparent failures or apparent slippage, or the Lord gives his try again and again by sending his devotees. And the biggest hope for us is the Lord does not lose his hope and is ready to give his company to us forever. Tomorrow when I become a cockroach, he will be with me. If I become a chipkali, he will be with me. When I become a donkey, he will be with me. When I become earthworm, he will be with me. Hoping that Abhi Sudharega. So that is our hope. And he is constantly reminding us. But we should not test the Lord's performance. We should use Lord and test our performance. हम क्या देखते हैं कि भगवान अभी मुझे क्या मदद करते हैं देखते हैं. मैं थोड़ा शैतानीगिरी करता हूँ. Let me see how the Lord is going to rescue me. Don't test his performance. That will be catastrophic for us. So that was about the third reflection. Now with respect to the fourth reflection, which is where the question that was raised by whoever that person was. So the reflection here is, how is that object of on the Nirguna platform On the Nirguna platform, there is never clash over the object of enjoyment, but we came down to this material world because we had clash for the object of enjoyment. Basically, in the Nirguna platform to materialistic position, we come down not necessarily because of an object of an enjoyment, but because of the propensity to enjoy. Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nitya Das. So the Jiva, the spirit soul, has got inherent characteristics. What are all the inherent characteristics the Jiva possess? The inherent characteristics are to be loved and to love, to be served and to serve, to be happy all the time. So just because of this inherent nature, I want to be loved and I want to love. Srila Prabhupada says, the so-called materialistic people, they don't understand this, but they look forward for the love. So they have a misdirected love. Where does their love go to? Their love go to towards their dog, towards their pet. And they keep shifting their love towards different sense objects, to different people. And they don't get satisfied in any one of them. And they die dissatisfied. And it's very dukhi baat hai. There are a lot of people who started to proclaim कि हमें भी जानवर बनना चाहिए. Next life I would like to become like a dog. I would like to become like a parrot. I would like to become like an eagle. I would like to become like a lion. Without realizing that such an animalistic life is actually a trap. वो वहां का लायन बैठे सोचा रहेगा कि गधे तू मुझे पिंजरे में बांध के रखा है. Next life, when you become a janwar, you will realize what pain I'm undergoing. You may be calling myself as a king of the jungle, but I'm still suffering. I'm still trapped. I'm still not able to enjoy what I want to do. Please remember, karma is not applicable to animals. Karma is only up to us. Only we human beings have got the ability, the facility to work in such a manner that we don't need to get birth again or birth in lower species. If we miss that opportunity, then probably, it is our misfortune. There is a very interesting comparison why we need to take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam and try to exit this cycle of birth and death. The comparison is that suppose, for example, there is a very good road in a village. This is a very well established road. But that road is never utilized. What happens? Lots of grass and everything gets covered. And that path is not seen. कुछ साल के बाद किसी को पता भी नहीं चलेगा कि वहां का रास्ता था. If that way is not being regularly utilized, that way is actually covered with grasses and mud and dirt, that after a point in time, हमें लगता ही नहीं कि वो way है. So similarly, we have Vedic scriptures, bona fide acharyas commentaries. So unless and otherwise, those paths that is laid by them, we use them. We in the human form of life and walk that path because it's a well laid path. If we use them, then we will be able to go to the next destination very easily. Varna hoga kya? That will be covered by dirt and grass and various other coverings. Probably you will not even know there is a way. You will be constantly crying कि भगवान मुझे solution दो. आपके घर पे श्रीमद् भागवतम पढ़ा रहेगा. Every time you come on your knees and cry, shed tears, demand attention. But the solution is in your own backyard, dear. Solution is not elsewhere. One English professor was teaching in the classroom, and somebody was telling about he was teaching about the God subject. So one of the atheistic student was telling, Say, God is nowhere, God is nowhere, God is nowhere. So the English professor was telling that it is only in your understanding, dear, that God is nowhere. It is just a matter of adjusting your vision. If you write God is nowhere, if you just shift one W from where to no, the whole sentence becomes what? God is now here. So it is just a matter of understanding, changing our perception. Everything will remain intact. Your body will remain intact. Your relationship will remain intact. Your resources will remain intact. But just by changing that perspective, one single word, God is nowhere. From the where, you remove the W and attach it to no. What it will become? God is now here. So in our own personal lives, so that my fourth reflection here is that we are all suffering in this materialistic world with various sense objects, thinking that as our pleasure and forgetting that we have already a well laid path. When Vaishnava Acharyas and self-realized souls coming and repeatedly telling, please take this path, please walk this path, please become a devotee by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, chant Hare Krishna, do devotional service, we kind of take them lightly, thinking that हमारे लिए कुछ अलग से magic होने वाला है. Because our problem is repetitively we are hearing this. After a point in time, we get to become familiar or complacent to this conversation. We take the whole science lightly and eventually not subscribe to this path because of familiarity or complacency. So hence, we don't give importance to that. So then Krishna has to arm twist you, bring in COVID, bring in piles, bring in childlessness, bring in various other things in your life, and start remind you saying that you are missing me, you are not remembering me, you are not doing things which you are supposed to do. Please buckle up. Otherwise, you will not be able to, glorify the Lord. So hence, the fourth reflection is how we try to remember that we have an inherent nature. So to reflect, answer that point, that from Brahman we fall down, not because of the object of sense enjoyment, but because of the inherent nature of the soul is to love, is to serve, is to be happy. And in Nirguna stage, we only have eternity, but no other variety. That is why he chooses to come down. Okay? And so the fifth aspect, the fifth reflection where we spoke about the godless civilization, the paragraph number 4 and paragraph number 4 and 5, which is fifth and sixth point that I said, is where godless civilization is based on an illusion. Today we have accomplished something, got some few results, so we got to, become a little proud. Suddenly somebody would have appreciated you. Prabhuji, very nicely you spoke. Prabhuji, you are a very humble devotee. Prabhuji, you are a very good expert in doing certain things. And what will happen? We will immediately start to believe him. He must have said out of his kindness. So our biggest problem is we start to believe our own glorification as true and Krishna's glorification as exaggeration. So we get to a godless civilization. I've mentioned this example many times. I'll repeat. I have fun in now defining this example. I was doing a matchmaking for a Prabhu and a Mataji. So I was in my office. So I decided, because we want to make the match, the boy and girl to meet in a neutral venue. So I called the boy to my office and also girl to my office. So they came, and of course the girl came half an hour later than planned time, and her reason was that I'm coming from office, so I had to go to a parlor to look beautiful, not to present my real self. I want to present my beautified self. So she came, and then I made the boy and girl speak for half an hour, 1 hour, whatever the time. So then after they came back, I kind of took a debrief. So I asked that girl, so please tell what do you think about this match, this boy. So she said all, uh, that time you become a poet for some time, right? For some moment. So she started glorifying that boy. Finally, they both of them did not get married. That's a different problem. So I was just wondering what happened to the glorification. So anyway, the girl glorified. So then I asked that boy, so what do you think? So he said that Prabhuji, she is very intelligent. Within a very short time, she understood me. So what does it actually mean? So please glorify me more and more. All the glorification about me is actually true. So within a very short time, she understood me, which means वो खुद ही अपने बारे में ये सोच रहे हैं. So half of the time our days have gone thinking about ourselves. So we are heading up towards a godless civilization. So in a godless civilization has got three components. When I say about godless civilization, number one is really an atheistic one, is also called godless civilization, where there is actually no God, completely science and technology and Big Bang theory. That is one form of godless civilization. But another form of godless civilization is where we are using the God for portraying ourselves. That is also called godless civilization. Where we use the God, we use Supreme Lord. So like how all the mandalis are surviving, all the bogus people are surviving. They use spirituality, all Dongi Baba, all the fake gurus. How are they surviving? They are using God for their own civilization. And 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam very clearly says, this is Kali Yuga's one of the characteristics. So hence the point is how godless civilization is just not about no God conversation. It is about God conversation in the context of Tera mujhko arpan, not mera tujhko arpan or anything otherwise. So we talk about how godless civilization is also about self-centeredness using God. And third aspect of godless civilization is not to accept the brahmanas, so not accept the procedures or directives given by the Supreme Lord and trying to do things in terms of niyamagraha. There is slightly better than the middle one, but then we do things, we come to the level of, the second one is about individuality. In the third category of godless civilization is about formality and religiosity. Formality and religiosity are also not so good state to be in. So neither no God nor being individualistic, not being formality are going to help us in understanding Isa Vashyam Idam Sarvam. So if you are not understanding Isa Vashyam Idam Sarvam, you will not going to be remain happy. If you are not going to be remaining happy, we are going to create a ruckus in the society and become an asurik. Because when you are not happy, you are going to find solutions, and you are not going to find solutions. You are going to you are going to throw tantrums. When you are throwing tantrums, you will have 100 other problems that are going to come up. So the point number 5 and 6, 5 about how godless civilization is based on a big illusion, and how we understanding that way, we are putting ourselves in trouble and thinking ourselves an Ishvara wherein we cannot be one. And the sixth point that we spoke about was we can only develop spiritual perception through devotional service. So unless and otherwise we do devotional service, we don't come to this real platform of understanding about the Supreme Lord. Hence, it is a recommendation to all of us to get actively engaged in service. So if you connect the thread together from the first till now, make your choice and desire correctly. For the desire to get matured, you associate with the devotee. For the devotee to help you, you take part in active hearing and active understanding of Krishna consciousness philosophy by receiving his mercy, so that you will be able to realize your constitutional nature and able to function forward. And with that way, you will be able to get rid of the sense gratificatory propensity, thinking that the sense objects are the ultimate goal. And we finally come to an understanding of God-centered civilization and going away from godless civilization, and learn to dovetail the supreme, all our propensities, all our resources for the Supreme Lord, to finally conclude how God is a person. He reciprocates, He helps, and He desires for us to come to His abode. So this sets of understanding by which we become a personalist. We don't become an impersonalist, and that way we have a hope to very soon be with the Lord, enjoy with the Lord, and have an eternal life of spirituality in the spiritual abode. So with that note, I would like to end this session here. We are already 10 past 10 in India. So let us try to churn the next shloka tomorrow and probably see how we can perform there. So we have finished in the section 3 of Ishopanishad, verse number 4, 5, 6 and 7. So tomorrow we will do verse 8 and also one full summary and move on to the next section 4. And section 4 and section 5 are the two leftover sections from this Ishopanishad series. Any questions and comments or any further reflections? I see there's a question here from our Srikesh Prabhu from California. So Srikesh Prabhu has asked, what are all those 4 qualities that are unique of Krishna only? So we spoke about this 2 days before. Number 1 quality is Leela Madhuri, Rupa Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, and Prema Madhuri. The pastimes of Krishna are unique to Krishna only. Nobody can perform some pastimes. There are some pastimes every avatar has performed, but there are certain pastimes only Krishna has performed, nobody else has performed. That is unique to Krishna only. Second is Rupa. Krishna's 3 bend, 3 banga. When Krishna stands, he stands in a 3 banga. Actually, Krishna had a great grandson by name Vajranabha. So, Vajranabha, when he was a child, his mother was constantly talking about Krishna Leela to him, was constantly narrating various pastimes to him and describing about Krishna's beauty. So Vajranabha's mother described about Krishna's beauty. So when Vajranabha became an adult, so he made different sculptures, different vigrahas of Krishna based on the description that he heard from his mother. So it is said that because their mothers have seen Krishna, they have validated how Krishna looks like. So it is said that Radha Govinda, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Gopinath. So I may be mixing up with the details, but what they said is that when Vajranabha made Radha Govindaji deity, Radha Madan Mohan deity, and Radha Gopinath deities, so the mother said that Krishna used to look exactly, Krishna's face used to exactly resemble like Radha Govindaji. Krishna's body used to exactly resemble like Radha Madan Mohan. Krishna's lower part of the body looks like Radha Gopinath. I may be mixing, so I will exactly refer and tell you. But what she was telling is, these 3 deities put together, the attributes that you have already made very nicely, they resemble Krishna himself. So the form of the Lord is so beautiful that it is unique to himself. That is why he is called Shyama Sundara, black beauty. People are now showing their animosity and aversion towards black, but we need to let everybody know that Krishna is the black beauty. Gauranga Prabhu once mentioned a joke. In Africa, so they had a riot. So in that riot, people were going on looting different houses. So they finally ransacked. They kind of attacked ISKCON temple. So thinking that there will be some money and things. Africa has got a lot of such episodes where people keep attacking. So they finally came to an ISKCON temple, and suddenly when they were attacking the devotees left and center, one of the dacoit in that group said, "Hey, stop! Do you see something very unique here?" Huh? So he pointed everybody towards the altar. "You see, a black man has got a white wife. I think we should spare these guys and go." Huh? Because in the altar they had Krishna, who is black beauty, and next to Krishna was beautiful Srimati Radharani, who is Shama Gauri Nitya Kishori. She is beautiful Gauri, golden complexion, beautiful complexion. So when they say, "Hey, look at this black boy has got a white wife," so these guys are our supporters, so we should spare them, and they left. So sometimes, the beauty of the Lord attracts even the most degraded, fallen soul. So Rupa Madhuri. The third is Venu Madhuri. The way Krishna holds the flute, there is no other avatar who has got this flute that Krishna has. Of course, some jokers like Poundraga can go and buy in some musical instrument shop a flute and play like Krishna, but just like Krishna playing flute, nobody else. And Krishna's flute has got a science, musical science, sound engineering there. Because in different flute sound, he will actually communicate to different people. By producing different types of sound, he will talk to birds. By producing sound, this message is for the cows. For different type of sound, it is only for the gopis. For different types of sound, it is for his friends, boyfriends. And for different types of the flute sound, it is for the trees. So his flute sound is so, and different times of the day, it is all amazing. Venu Madhuri. And finally, the fourth quality is Prema Madhuri. The love, the personal love that Krishna shows towards his devotees. Oh my God, is amazing. So he gives himself to his devotees. He becomes subservient to his devotees. And that prema bhakti, that topmost love and emotions, no other Leela has, demonstrated. Of course, Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. He has given that prema, but the point is Prema Madhuri is unique to Krishna himself. Okay? So any other questions or comments from whatever we discussed? So is Smartha Brahmana and Jati Gosai godless civilization? Absolutely, yes. Smartha Brahmana and godless civilization. Third aspect. We spoke about three forms of godless civilization. They form the third ones. So where they are using, or second or third, both mixed together. Just doing Niyama Graha. Especially we spoke about the pastime of Brahmanas in Vrindavan. At that time we elaborately discussed how they were with Krishna, but they were not without Krishna. They were not with Krishna. Like how seeing and not seeing category. You are with the Lord. You are in the context of the Supreme Lord, but you are not getting the result of them because of your stupidity, because of the covering. That is why this Ishopanishad is reminding us, remove the covering. Work on remove the covering. Then only things can work. Okay. Any other thoughts and comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, dear.
Prabhuji, actually, regarding the association and aparat, like there's one small analogy which I had heard. Sometimes the devotee association is like porcupine. These porcupines in cold weather they cannot survive alone. But when they come together, they will be warm, but they'll be pricking each other because they have thorns on their body. So the devotee association is also sometimes like that because like when we come together, there'll be little pricking and all that. But that is how we can survive in Krishna consciousness.
Jai, very nice. That pricking is not always painful. Most of the time it is prasadam also. It is also fun too. So sometimes this pricking is also fun. Sometimes in the classroom we prick each other. Chal, hum aaj Govindas jate hain. Huh? During the class we text each other, we prick each other. So sometimes this pricking is pretty good. Thank you so much. Very nice. Prabhupada says, one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, book Bhagavatam or devotee Bhagavatam, who is more important? The devotee Bhagavatam is more important because the devotee Bhagavata can tweak your ears and get you to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So this pricking and tweaking and whacking is good. Any other thoughts, realizations, comments? Okay, great. Thank you for being part of this series. With your participation, I'm getting to learn a lot. And thank you so much. I hope and I'm wishing that whatever we are speaking is not overwhelming or getting really too much for you to assimilate or becoming out of context. So you can personally text me a feedback if at all there is anything that you would like to give me. I'm going too fast, too slow. I thought Prabhuji, 9 दिन में खत्म हो जाएगा, लेकिन ये commitment लंबा हो रहा है. So if there are any such concerns, I'm sure I will not do this 8:30 class. I will shift to 8 o'clock again. Just that yesterday and today I had to be part of this education symposium where I'm one of the participant. So I had to shift this or do an adjustment. Actually, my day today has started. Anyway, let's not talk about my day. So I've been back to back doing some things. So from tomorrow we'll once again shift to 8 o'clock regime so that you'll be able to go to bed soon and get up early in the morning and chant. Rantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.